For the longest time, the whole idea of controlling the weather has felt like something straight out of science fiction. Big, risky, maybe even a little scary. But what if we've been asking the wrong question all along? What if, instead of trying to command the sky, we could just learn to work with our local microclimates? Well, that's what we're going to dive into today.
So we're looking at a new framework that poses exactly that question. This isn't about making giant storms or trying to force rain over huge areas. No, this is about something much more subtle, totally transparent, and with a safety-first approach to just extending the life of something as delicate as fog, right where we live. All right, so here's the plan. First, we'll touch on the risks of the old way, trying to force the weather. Then we'll get into the completely new philosophy behind these fog corridors. After that, we'll break down how it all works, piece by piece. We'll look at the nature-inspired safety features. And then finally, we'll see how it all comes together to basically become an engine for well-being in our cities. To really get why this new idea is such a big deal, we kind of have to look at where we've been. The traditional ways of trying to change the weather have always come with a whole lot of uncertainty and a whole lot of risk.
And you can really see the two philosophies right here, side by side. On the one hand, you've got the old model of forcing weather, which comes with massive ecological and legal risks. It's unpredictable, and honestly, it makes a lot of people pretty nervous. But on the other hand, you have this new idea, gently steering microclimates. It's designed to be modular, totally transparent, and it's focused on a really simple goal, just gently helping fog hang around a bit longer while also creating a super valuable resource, clean water.
So this new approach is all wrapped up in the idea of the fog corridor. And let me tell you, this is way more than just a piece of technology. It's a completely different way of thinking about our relationship with the atmosphere right above our heads. This quote from the project's manifesto just says it all, doesn't it? The goal here isn't domination, it's cooperation. It's all about creating systems that can cool our spaces, harvest water, and bring down the extremes, all while using transparent, community-focused tech. And this whole philosophy is built on 5 key principles. First up, replicate what nature already does. Don't try to force it. Second, and this is crucial, keep the biology on the surfaces, acting as sensors, and let the physics of inert materials do the work in the air. Third, build public trust through open MRV. That just means all the data, the measurement, reporting, and verification is public. Anyone can see it. Fourth, stay humble and have a built-in kill switch. And finally, focus on the co-benefits first, the real tangible stuff that improves daily life, like water, shade, and better health.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how does this thing actually work? It sounds super complex, but it really just boils down to 3 pretty straightforward parts.
The system's got this simple logic to it. First, you create the perfect conditions to cool the air and collect moisture. Then, you use some clever geometry to shape the airflow and protect that precious fog. And finally, you give the fog just a gentle nudge to make it a little thicker and help it last longer. So step 1 is all about passive design, which is awesome. The corridor uses these special surfaces that are just really good at radiating heat out into space, which makes them cooler than the air around them. It also uses some panels for targeted spot cooling, and that little temperature drop is what encourages dew to form and helps the fog condense and collect. Next up, it's all about shaping the airflow. The structure has these sections that narrow, which, just like putting your thumb over a garden hose, makes the air speed up. That creates a pressure difference that helps guide the flow. It also has these curved edges that keep the airflow really smooth and kind of stuck to the surfaces. It's a really smart way to shield the moist air inside and stop it from mixing with all that dry air outside. Now here's where it gets really fascinating and a little mind-bending. The design actually uses a concept from math, the Mobius twist. So by building a subtle 180-degree twist into parts of the corridor wall, it creates this single continuous surface that flips over. It's a clever trick that creates alternating airflows, which helps push water droplets toward the collection surfaces. It just makes the whole system that much more efficient. The final step is that gentle nudge we talked about. The system can release these tiny, tiny microdoses of completely inert, non-living particles. They're called cloud condensation nuclei, or CCNs. Basically, they're like microscopic seeds that water vapor loves to grab onto. This helps make the fog a little denser and stick around just a bit longer. And let's be clear, this isn't old-school cloud seeding. It's a super precise, minimal intervention. Now, I know what you're thinking. Anytime you talk about touching the atmosphere, even gently, questions about safety and ethics are going to come up, right? Well, this whole framework is built from the ground up to deal with those concerns, taking its cues from nature but locking it all down with strict safety rules. And the inspiration here is just so elegant. Those inert particles we mentioned, they get coatings inspired by the incredibly efficient, water-attracting shells of pollen. And on the corridor's walls, they use mycelial networks, the root structures of fungi, not for growing, but as living, super-sensitive wetness detectors. It's all about learning the idea from biology, not just blindly copying it.
And that inspiration from nature is governed by some really strict safety rules to build trust. Rule number 1, and this is a big one, absolutely no living organisms are released into the air, period. The biological parts are only used on surfaces as sensors. All the data is public, the system is low voltage, and it's designed with hard-coded kill switches to shut everything down if conditions aren't absolutely perfect. And this quote just captures that core safety principle perfectly. It's a crystal clear separation. The living systems are used as sensors on the walls, where they're contained and stable. But the actual work happening in the air, that's all driven by simple physics and inert, non-living materials that just happen to borrow nature's brilliant design. Okay, so we've seen the philosophy, we've gone through the mechanics, but what is this all for? Why does this matter? Well, the ultimate vision for the fog corridor is for it to be way more than just a piece of climate tech. It's designed to be an engine for urban well-being. The claim here is pretty bold. This system isn't just about making fog, or even just harvesting water. It's about creating this amazing chain of positive effects that directly benefit the people living in the city, from the water they can use to the very air they breathe. This value chain really shows how all the benefits are connected. It all starts with harvesting clean water right out of the air. That water can then be polished and filtered for use in urban gardens, which boosts local food security. The structure itself provides cooling and shade, fighting that urban heat island effect. And all of this together can create what the project calls therapeutic urban groves: cooler, greener, healthier spaces for everyone. And this isn't just some theory. Based on the engineering estimates, the potential for water harvesting is actually pretty significant. On a good night in a coastal marine layer, a corridor could collect between 2 and 4 liters of water for every single square meter of its surface. Even on an urban rooftop, it could still pull in up to 1.5 liters a night. That's fresh water that can be used for all sorts of things and take some strain off the city's resources. And this promise really ties it all together. Instead of one giant, risky mega project, the idea is to use thousands of small, transparent, ethical modules. This approach can actually create a bigger positive impact, while also, and this is the really crucial part, teaching our cities how to sense and actively care for their own little slice of the atmosphere. And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question. It kind of reframes our whole relationship with the environment right above us, not as something to be conquered or ignored, but as a vital part of our urban ecosystem, something we can learn to nurture, support, and live with in a much healthier, more sustainable way.